What are the 3 must-have records you should have as a family historian? I'm going to cover it in this episode. Hello, Pennsylvania friends. My name's Denise Allen. I'm a genealogy researcher and history enthusiast. I'm here living in Pennsylvania, helping people discover their Pennsylvania ancestors. This season of the podcast is all about vital records. So these are the most basic records that people want to get on their family members, and I'm going to show you how to get them. In this video, I'm talking about the 3 main vital records that you're going to want to get on your ancestors. That means death certificates, birth certificates, and marriage licenses. Now, when doing family history, a lot of family historians, genealogists, like to work backwards in a person's life, meaning that they start with their death and then they go to their birth, rather than try to start with their birth and then go to their death. One of the reasons is that the records that we have on deaths are much more available in Pennsylvania as compared to birth records. And let's talk about those death records first. The death certificates in Pennsylvania started in 1906, and these are the certificates that we're familiar with today that the state issues when an individual dies. For a more recent death, you might have seen this for a family member. It comes with a raised seal on the document, and it's very official looking. It looks something like this. Here in Pennsylvania, we're very lucky that the Department of Health sends death certificates for public access to the Pennsylvania State Archives after a 50-year period. So what this means for us in 2022 is that we can access publicly any death certificate that was issued before 1971. Isn't that fantastic? So right now, those have been digitized on Ancestry. You can see them in full color, which is wonderful because they're digitized from the original certificate directly into a digital file. And if you're a Pennsylvania resident, you can access Ancestry for free and get free access particularly to Pennsylvania records on Ancestry. Not all of Ancestry, sorry. But those death certificates are searchable, so you can type in the name of your ancestors into the search box, and the certificate should come up. In a future video, I'll show you another way that you can search for those death certificates. If you're having a hard time finding them, I know I have, and I'll show you an example in that video. Now, the question always comes up, well, what if I want a death certificate for someone after 1971? Well, you can request those directly from the Department of Health. There is a fee involved with those because they're going to send you a certified death certificate. So they're going to send you one with a raised seal, and there's a fee. I think it's about $20 right now per certificate, and it does take 6 to 8 weeks to get those. Once you have that death certificate, you're going to want to go after those birth certificates. Now, unfortunately, these are not as available publicly as death certificates. The main reason is to protect the privacy of living individuals, and also so a birth certificate can't be used fraudulently to obtain fake identity. You might remember the story of the 9/11 hijackers and how they used birth certificates of deceased children and teenagers in order to fake identities and stay in the United States and then do the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. That was documented by the FBI, and I'll include a link in the show notes for that story in case you missed it at the time. But back to birth certificates in Pennsylvania. These begin in 1906, just like death certificates, but we only have access to those that were issued 105 years ago or later. So in 2022, that means the year 1916. So if you're looking for a birth certificate for an individual born 1916 or earlier, so that's just a 10-year period, unfortunately, of the state issued birth certificates. Birth certificates, like death certificates, begin at the Department of Health, and then they are transferred to the Pennsylvania State Archives after that 105-year period. The Pennsylvania State Archives does not have access to those birth or death certificates while the Department of Health has them. They're literally sitting in 2 different places. You can also find those on Ancestry, digitized in full color, and again, for free for Pennsylvania residents with the special access in the link in the show notes. So you can check those out. In a future episode, I am going to go over one of my favorite records related to birth certificates that a lot of people don't know about. And also, I'll be covering records that were done at the county level that could help you for ancestors born before 1906. Now, the third and final vital record that you're going to want to get for your ancestors in Pennsylvania is a little bit harder to get than the first two I mentioned, the birth certificates and the death certificates. This is because this item is marriage licenses. And marriage licenses, if you're married, you went to a county courthouse in some state in the United States, if you got married in the United States, and obtained your marriage license. These are universally issued at county courthouses. They're also issued at embassies and some other, interesting locations. I haven't heard of one on the space station yet, but I'm sure there'll be a time. These marriage licenses, because they're issued at the county level, they're maintained at the county level and stay there. You will not find marriage license documents in Harrisburg at all. You're not going to find them in the Department of Health. You're not going to find them in some marriage department, and you're not going to find them at the Pennsylvania State Archives. So do not contact anyone in Harrisburg for any of these documents. They are county issued documents. They stay at the county level. Some have been digitized, but not all, and not all the years you want. It almost becomes a universal rule in family history that the year that you are looking for, that you most want, is the one that has not been digitized. But the great part about marriage licenses, though, is they begin in 1885. So they are our oldest consistent vital record in the state of Pennsylvania because they are essentially unchanged from 1885 all the way to the present day. The questions have changed a little bit over the years, but they follow basically the same format. You have the name of each of the individuals. It used to be the bride and the groom. Now I think it's partner one and partner two. And then you have their current residence for each of those, their age, their birth date, where they were born, their parents' names and where they were born. You also get the occupations of those individuals. And then if you follow the trail of the marriage license to the duplicate license, which is returned to the courthouse once the marriage is performed, you'll also get the name of the person who conducted the ceremony. The really interesting thing about marriage licenses, unlike birth certificates and death certificates, is marriage licenses are public information from the minute they're created. So a lot of people find this unusual, but if you wanted to, you could walk down to your county courthouse or drive and get a list of everyone who applied for a marriage license today or yesterday or last week or last year. So that information is not a secret at all. It's not kept private. And if you remember from the days when you used to read a newspaper, you would find the list of people that applied for marriage licenses often as a small section of the newspaper. Marriage licenses are issued in county courthouses. It's usually the courthouse of the county which the couple resides, assuming that both individuals live in the same county. You also might run into a situation where the bride lives in Montgomery County, the groom lives in Berks County, but they decide to get married in Chester County. Right? So these are three separate counties in Pennsylvania. So where would the marriage license be? Well, you'd have to look in all three. So typically, the couple will get a marriage license issued in the county where the marriage is taking place, because for the officiant of the marriage, this is who is going to be returning the document, and it's most convenient for them if it's issued in the county where the marriage takes place, if this makes sense. In the example of the groom in Berks County, the bride in Montgomery County, and the ceremony in Chester, you would look in the Chester County courthouse records for that document. In a lot of counties, the courthouse will keep the most recent set of marriage licenses, maybe 20 or 30 years worth, and the rest they'll archive off-site, but they'll be able to access those for you. The most important thing to do when you're searching for a marriage license is to know about the years that you're looking for the marriage. So this is typically the years between when the couple turned 18 until the birth of their first child. Somewhere in there is typically, and not always, I says this typically, when a couple got married. The two online places to find marriage licenses are, of course, Ancestry.com and Family Search. Ancestry often has the indexes to the marriage licenses and not as many original documents. And Family Search will have a lot of the original documents, but all of them might not be indexed, meaning you can't type in the search field and just instantly find it. If you go in knowing the county that you want to search or counties, and then the years, you can then match it up with what's in these two websites and figure out which one you want to search. But you can also do it the old-fashioned way and go directly to the county courthouse itself. In a future episode, I'll cover divorce records because they're technically not a vital record, although they are vital to understanding our ancestors and their relationships. That is a little bit about how to find each of the three main vital records for your ancestors: the death certificates, the birth certificates, and the marriage licenses from either 1885 or 1906, depending on the document. And if you're interested in learning more about these documents and getting more of my tips, I have a weekly newsletter. You can sign up for that at welcome, welcome, .paancestors.com. You'll also get a free research guide that I put together with some basic research tips on how to get through these digitized records, because it's a little bit tricky sometimes between spellings of names and where things are located. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so the next episodes will be automatically downloaded for you and you don't miss them. You can listen to them in one big blanket sweep while you're sitting at the beach this summer or traveling to visit family. This is Denise Allen, and I wish you many discoveries about your Pennsylvania ancestors.